of the bell curve is pretty bad at this point, in my opinion. Yes, I agree. And this is what I'm talking about. They're no longer, extreme psychiatric disordered therapist needing Hannibal Lecter type thriller movie caricatures. People are now acting and being rewarded by acting narcissistically and sociopathically and getting clicks and likes.
True that.
Because it gets attention. The ends justify the means. And to me, if that's not sociopathic, I don't know what is. I remember one line from the series Lie to Me, where it was probably the best episode, I think. They had a sociopath, and at the end, he finally came out that he murdered his little sister when he was 5 or 7. He watched her drown in a pool, and they finally confronted this psychopath, and they said, "Why didn't you save your sister?" And he said, "Because I wanted her bike." The ends justifying the means. I feel like today's sociopathic social media, look at me, I want likes no matter what I have to do. I don't care if I get on OnlyFans. I don't care if I do a video where watch me drink a bucket of shit and I get like 1 million likes and views. The ends justify the means. There's no decorum, there's no civility, there's no trust, there's nothing. I will use you and get what I want, and I don't care. The ends always justify the means. So we are being trained to be narcissists, but there's a very big difference between a capital N clinical narcissist. Again, Prince Revolver, how do you fix communication between men and women?
I kind of have to interrupt there.
Take away the men and women. We've gone beyond the point where women have thrown away femininity. So now the only way to relate to women is like human beings. Try, and as much as you can, to train yourself as like, they are just a person. Try and as much as you can to not want what your body wants. It's like treat them like a person. Go on a date looking to just have a conversation with a fun person. Don't jump towards, bed, relationship, meeting my parents, marriage, kids. You have to really stoically train yourself to be a disciplined person around women. We never used to have to be this mentally disciplined around the opposite sex, but now we do. We need to, in a neutral sense, treat people like friends or possible friends before we can fictionally imagine the possibilities of relationships now with them. I know the intent when you date is you want a relationship, you're on a dating site because you stated you want a relationship, you're tired of fooling around. But when you go there, you have to deal with people objectively at arm's length until they earn your trust. That's rational. You can't trust someone before they've earned it. And the only way to do it is take incremental steps with a rational brain, a boundary-focused, I take care of myself, I'm going to say yes and no whenever I mean it, and I'm going to express it beautifully, and I never have to be ashamed for expressing anything I want. And if they get offended, that's not my problem, because I know objectively I'm being a fair, kind person that's just expressing who you need to be. This person, not me, but you need to express your own words in that way so you can take care of yourself. So you don't go online and say narcissist, female nature, women are all like this. It's like you're an empty guy dating empty women, so you're going to get the same result. When I tried dating and being different, I got different results. It's not luck, it's not delusion. It isn't. And I'm not saying you're going to get the same opportunities as me, you're going to be me, you're going to speak like me. You're going to get different opportunities along the way. Like there is luck in coming across certain people that may or may not be compatible to you. But if you're invisible to yourself, you don't know how you conduct yourself in front of narcissists or your average narcissistically expressing pedestrian person out there that you don't know, then the end of the tale is going to end the same way. Because you're invisible, you can't stand up for yourself. You can't express yourself like you do to your best friends, where you let your guard down and you don't have any fear and you can say exactly what you want and your yeses and nos come genuinely and you feel completely calm without fear and you don't have a suit of armor around you. You need to get to that point when you're dating women.
I have to interrupt there. Every time I am I've jumped on one of his live streams. He's usually like ending it. I won't lie. Sometimes I'm like, does he see my little channel avatar pop up? And he's like, oh fuck, it's him. not this one. And I thought it was quite interesting. The topic of this particular live stream is called "Was Your Girlfriend a Narcissist?" And there's quite a few topics that he's covered in this, which I suppose I have spoken about previously, more so sort of like 7-8 years ago when I first started talking about this. Because for me it was my first experience. It's like I'd never known anyone flip from being one person to someone that, as I've said before, from how can I explain it? A shell of a person, like the body, the physical representation of what they look like, and them having a certain way or mannerisms about themselves, and for that just to flip on a dime, and then they just turn into this complete other person. You know, sometimes it makes you think, was this schizophrenia, or is this what? And the thing that egged me on to knowing more about narcissism is I'm one of these guys, I suppose, like many others, in whereas, you know, you will keep on trying at a relationship. You don't want to give up, and it's especially not if you've invested like I had financially, signed on the dotted line for, you know, mortgage and all of this, which is why I say, if you are looking to building a relationship with someone, your best thing to do, your best bet is to, after you spent time getting to know them properly, then consider renting somewhere with them. Now the advantage being there, and it's still a catch-22, but it's easier to get out of rented accommodation with less hassle than what it is trying to, you know, go through, what is it they called it? I mean, even with me, it had to go through family courts, right? Because although I didn't have any kids or dependents with that partner, because the house was in both of our names, it made doing the whole divorce and saying, sorry, not divorce, the breakup, well, the breakup itself was shit anyway, as I'm sure those of you that have experienced this kind of relationship, you know that anyway. But then trying to get away from the other person and all the bullshit that goes with that. Realistically speaking, a lot of guys, you know, they end up having to either move out of the home through, you know, what was the family home or seen as the family home, either voluntarily because they're not willing to, you know, do a day's work or however many hours, and go home to be greeted with a shower of shite and verbal abuse and mental bullshit and all of that goes with it, you know. Now, from a financial point of view, and from I suppose an emotional point of view, from a mental health point of view, more importantly, you know, you don't want to be in that situation, you know, because you're dealing with whatever BS you deal with at work. I mean, maybe some people have real nice jobs and real good colleagues, and they've got real good team that they work with 8, 9, 10 hours a day or whatever, you know. And there's no infighting, there's no backstabbing or anything like that. I'm sure there are jobs out there that are like that. I've worked in a few places like that, but unfortunately, with all the places that I have worked, for the most part, there has been a lot of backstabbing and throwing each other under the bus for the sake of betterment, or maybe just drama, I don't know. But the point is, you know, you don't want to be going from that scenario into a place where you call home to receive the exact same again from someone that you had built up a relationship with. And like I say, it's a lot of it is just the fuckery that, you know, some of these, because from my perspective, it was a case of I hadn't actually done anything wrong, right? That's the bit that I suppose pissed me off the most, the fact that I hadn't actually done anything wrong, yet I was being accused of all these things and had done none. And then, like I say, you're weighing up the options as to whether you continue going back. And, you know, realistically, in a lot of cases, some of these women become physically, I suppose, aggressive, right? Just saying it for what it is. And then in some cases the cops get called, and then obviously the guy will get taken away, maybe thrown in the cell overnight or whatever, and then maybe removed from the premises, or told not to go back or face the legal system. So then they end up having to pay not only to put a roof over what was Pumpkin's head and whatever dependence they might have had, if that was a thing, but you then got to find somewhere else to live as well. So paying out for someone else's lifestyle, right? This is why I say don't just sign on the dotted line and move in unless you actually really know them, because it's shocking. Now, with that said, I get that with the channel for the most part, because it has been me talking about a specific relationship which broke down, and, you know, it got me into trying to understand, like, you know, digressing back, I wanted to actually make a go of that. And if I figured that if I could at least understand what I was being told from that particular partner, the issues, the air quotes, psychological issues that she claimed that she had, was, as far as I was concerned, something that a couple could actually work through together. Now, if the actual truth had been told, I would have realised that there was no hope. Right? There was no hope. There's no hope of working with these people. They have no interest in working with the other person for the betterment of everyone, right? As Human pointed out there, it's all about themselves, right? It's all about what they can get out of, any means, anything justifies the means to get to the ends that they want. If I've said that correctly, hopefully I have. But you get the gist of it. And, with that, I think unfortunately I've noticed this now since that relationship. It's been something that I have noticed a lot more in society, and I guess because I'm coming from a guy's point of view in terms of online dating and women's behaviour out and about. So it's not just a case of, women on the internet. It's like, no, it's actually how I see them interacting with one another, whether it's, whether I go down to the local bar, pub, or whatever, with a bunch of mates, and I might just be people watching and seeing how other women interact with their own little hierarchy, and I see all the competition going on in between them and all the sort of bitching and backstabbing that they do amongst themselves, competing for the guy that one of them wants to take home that night or whatever. Or you hear the stories of them bitching about their partners who are probably sitting at home, probably playing Call of Duty or something like that, right? I'm just saying. Again, a lot of the time, because they don't want to deal with that bullshit. They're in a relationship a lot of the time. They want to get out. They don't want to get out at the same time. So I suppose an escape from that reality is to switch on the Xbox, the PC, the whatever console, and dedicate their time to that. But realistically, they're not actually in a relationship with the other person anymore. And a lot of the time that is because the other person stopped putting their best foot forward in as well. I've always said it takes two people putting in 100% to any given relationship to actually make that work successfully. But if one of them isn't as invested as the other, no matter which way around that dynamic is, it's just simply not going to work. Now with that, I have had the displeasure, should I say, of meeting in both in real life and via different social media. This is why I don't go on social media anymore. I start seeing people for who they are, or maybe who they want themselves to be on the internet, and the air quotes lifestyle that they're living, when realistically it's not them at all, right? It's just that maybe as Human was saying, they're doing it for the clicks and the likes. But I've seen the sort of other side of that and the other side of people, whereas a lot of the time, and even if it does come from a case of their own personal insecurities or their own personal I suppose negative thoughts on themselves, feelings of some sort of given inadequacy within themselves, you know. And I have seen this with a lot of people and how they interact with me, people that know me in real life, and you know, because they see that I've got this and I've got that and I've got the other, and it's like, yeah, but you don't know what I've actually gone through in order to get to where I am today, right? Even with the knowledge that I have now, I wouldn't have achieved what I know without going through what I've got. I would have never ever even considered looking into psychology if it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to make a relationship work many years ago with someone that I thought was as invested into that as I was. Now, clearly I was mistaken, and clearly that was a combination of things going on. You know, the reason I talk about so much the projected fantasy of who we want someone to be rather than who they actually are, and you combine that with if they're putting on a front, putting on a facade for you to believe that there's a different to what they are actually like, and they do that over a period of time. Like I say, as soon as that mask slips or the penny drops or whatever, you know, it's game over. You know, and sometimes that can be a real mind bender, because you're trying to get your head around, like, hey, how did I not see this coming? It's like, well, you know, sometimes, much as it pains me to say it, we are naive, and sometimes without experience, you know, without going through these things, you don't get to understand it. You don't get to do that. And one of the other sort of things that Human was saying there was about people getting an understanding of psychology to heal some kind of deep childhood trauma or psychological wound from childhood or something like that, which is one of the things that I always found kind of interesting, understanding the dynamic between someone with, say, with narcissistic personality disorder and someone who I'll refer to as codependent. Again, I've covered many videos on this as well. I never quite understood how that particular person thought for 1 second that I could become codependent on them. Strangely enough, it kind of did happen in a way, but it comes down to the tactics that type of person uses in order to get the other person suckered in. You know, I've done videos in the past about love bombing, sex bombing, you know, and they just give you the wildest nights, and you know, they idolise you, they put you up on a pedestal, they make you think that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and like, where have you been all their life? And you know, even as far as putting on tears of like, oh, it's like, I just wanted you in my life all this time, and all I've met is all these bad boys. And it's like, guys, if ever you hear that, man, that is a red flag. Get the fuck out. So as soon as you hear that shit, get the fuck out. Like, you're next, right? I'm just saying, you're next. And actually, even when I was dating someone within the last sort of 12 months, this scenario came up with someone that I started seeing, to the point where I even told them, I said, if you're sitting there telling me that all your exes were like this, it's like, you know, just so you know, I am actually waiting to be the next guy that mistreated you, even though I'm not going to mistreat you, and I'm not going to do anything to mistreat you. But lo and behold, they still managed to find a way of how supposedly I was, air quotes, controlling and manipulating and all this. And it's like, it was very much the opposite. You know, I was very easygoing. I was willing to give them a chance, despite the fact that they had more red flags than a Chinese Communist Party parade. I'm just saying, right? But digressing back to that whole thing of, you know, how you get suckered into that trauma bond, which is again more videos that I've covered over the years, because it becomes a cycle, and with a cycle becomes a repetitive thing, and it's I suppose it can become kind of like an addiction. And you might have seen some of the maybe memes of this with people with BPD or MPD. By BPD, I'm not talking about bipolar, I'm talking about borderline. And whereas they literally, their cycle is pretend to be cute, get all abusive, play the victim, rinse and repeat. And that's literally it. It's just, that is their life cycle. Like with any relationship, no matter who they're dating, no matter what it is, that is just that. And, you know, for me at least, where Human was saying previously about, you know, some people, I don't think that was aimed at, it was aimed at me, by the way. But some people do kind of really lay it on thick with regards the whole, oh, VX was a narcissist and shit like that. For me, I don't do it for the sake of like trying to get some sort of validation or like trying to get people to feel sorry for me. It's like, no, I want you, in particular for you guys that haven't been through it, or maybe you are going through it, to have some level of understanding, right? So you actually comprehend what happens and what you go through and how you've got to the stage that you're in now, and what are your next best steps. Your next best steps are away from that person in the opposite direction and as fast as fucking possible. Right, this isn't a fucking victim channel, right? It's not a survivor channel. This is a how to avoid stupid fucking channel, right? That's what this is about. Because these people, ultimately, they're fucking stupid. They are literally their own worst enemy. But as stated, there is a difference between. You see, I think if anything, sociopathic is more of a behavioural trait of someone with potential for borderline or narcissistic personality disorder, whereas psychopathic becomes something else. Psychopaths just do not care, they have no conscience. As far as my understanding goes, and it is obviously subjective to every individual with these, air quotes, ailments, if that's what we're going to call them, you know, it's more to do with... well, for starters, it's they have no control over themselves, and they have a very weak ego. They can't take any form of criticism, and any criticism that they do get, even if it's constructive criticism and would benefit them in the long run, a lot of the time they're just going to take that shit straight to heart and fire back at you with both barrels. Right? That's just how they operate. That's what they do, and there's no fixing them. Right? They're going to live out their life like that. So it doesn't matter how much you love them, it doesn't matter how much stuff, money, whatever you give them, they ain't never going to change. And the only thing that you can do to save yourself is get away from them. And like I said, with them, if they start going after material possessions, whether it's money, house, you know, shit like that, and again, I've said this time and time again, they will literally use their own children, they will weaponise their own children against their spouses, no matter which way this dynamic is, whether it's the mother or the father, it doesn't matter. Believe me when I say they will literally weaponise, and they will poison the child's mind to try and convince the kid that the other partner is a toxic one and the problem, even though they're probably not. You know, and of course this will naturally screw the kid's mindset up for, like, this is like I say, like, this is the fucking pandemic that they should be fucking talking about. This is the epidemic they should be fucking referring to, not some fucking virus that they've been going on about and fucking just pushing that fucking agenda. It's like, well, let's look at the state of people's mental health. But digressing back to the whole thing about, you know, partners and well, not partners, sorry, people in general. And I've met quite a few males that have had a lot of these traits, and, you know, regardless of whether it comes down to a great insecurity or not, you know, again, they're still quite happy and willing to throw literally anyone and anyone under the bus in order to make themselves feel better, when, truth be told, a lot of the time they're incompetent as shit. They're actually fucking retarded for the most part. I'm just saying, they are actually fucking retarded. And I'm not picking holes in people that actually have retardation. I'm saying that their mindset that they have is literally backward thinking. because they literally, you know, they cut the nose to spite the face. They will screw themselves over every time. And then, of course, they'll play the victim as to why they haven't got any mates or why people don't want to hang out with them and all this. And it's just sort of like, well, why do you think? Right? Why do you think? Why do you... But they can't, even when you, like I say, you give them crayons and a dot to dot as to where all their fucking problems are, and they still can't fucking connect them. They see it, they just don't want to acknowledge it because it's an ego problem. You know, deep down psychology. That's what that's about. But when it does come down to the dating scene nowadays, and this is something that I've been on a couple of dating apps now, and for the most part they're just cardboard cutouts of each other. A lot of them, it's the same old shit. You know, that a lot of them come from this place of female privilege, and I think a lot of the time, like I've been talking about these top 10%ers, the top earners, the 6-figure guys and all this shit, the 6 feet and 6 feet tall and 6-pack and all of that crap, right? They are actually encouraging the fucking problem, right, with their behaviours. And then they, you know, like I did the video about a week or two ago maybe, about it's okay for men to cheat, and it's just like, no, that's just some more bullshit that they're trying to fucking spill out there. Oh yeah, you should excuse me for my shitty behaviour. That in itself is fucking narcissism. Yeah? Oh, I give you this certain lifestyle, but you should allow me to step out of the relationship because, oh, I have nicked. Fuck off, that is narcissism and lack of self-control. Right? Where does lack of self-control come from? Ego. Simple as that. Anyway, I'm winding myself up with this topic, but you get the kind of... it pisses me off. It pisses me off that people are actually that fucking blasé about it. Right? And that they're actually doing more damage to society. And they can't acknowledge it. That's the thing. They're fucking stupid. They're spastic. They're retarded. And I'm talking about fucking millionaires here, in some cases, right? For those that it applies to. Yeah, I'm talking about you motherfuckers. And you know I'm fucking right as well. And it's like, I don't care for the most part. They just be like, oh, you've only got XYZ amount of subscribers. Oh, you're just chatting shit. Oh, who hurt you? It's like, well, no one's actually fucking hurt me. I'm telling you what's pissed off, why I'm pissed off with society, and why the dating scene is what it is today, and why a lot of these women have this mentality of why, you know, it's like a lot of them, oh yeah, what's your, you know, what is it that you want from a relationship? Oh, I want to be flown places, I want gifts all the time, I want this, I want that, it's me. The fucking epitome of fucking narcissism right there. And they've been promoting this shit. Anyway, look, I'm wrapping this crap up. Like I said, it's pissing me off, winding me the fuck up. And I'll have to go and have a cup of tea, try and chill my tits or something. Anyway, thoughts, comments and opinions, feel free to jot them down. Thanks for listening as always. And until the next one, stay cool, stay free, stay the fuck away from toxic motherfuckers. Peace out.